right, we're on. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talks with Haven, where we bring the empowerment, involvement, and influence. And today I have some wonderful guests, starting from my left to right, Dr. Rudy Pearson, a Black history teacher, but I won't talk too much because I want him to express it for himself. A fellow classmate of mine, John May Davis, and a fellow professor of mine, Tracy Gourdine. Now, before we get started, I would like for my two teachers to give a little background about themselves and where they come from. Starting with
Okay,
Rudy.
I'm Rudy, and where I came from basically was that when I was growing up, we didn't have anything called African American history and courses and whatnot, and I made it through college mostly because of sports and wanting to stay eligible. But reading on my own, I discovered there was all this literature and things that explained a whole lot more than much of my quote-unquote formal education. So I went back to grad school in my 30s, specifically for African American history, and stayed there longer than I intended. But at that point, decided teaching would be a good transition for me, and try to share some of this information to the people where I didn't get it at the same age.
Okay, this is Tracy Gourdine. I'm originally from the East Coast, from New York, and I came to California to study writing. I majored at Davis, and then I got my graduate degree in San Francisco. While I put myself through graduate school, I was working as a contract artist in California state prisons, teaching inmates, men, women, and children, writing and creative writing workshops. I did that for 10 years. And then came to American River College, where I was resistant because I always swore I would never be coming over here, teaching grammar or something like that. And I thought they'd have to give you books and all this stuff. And so they said to me, you can do what you want. I said, you mean I'm going to have autonomy? And they said, yes, just teach them your process, they said. And so while I'm teaching English, I'm teaching the news. I'm bringing up subject matter, history. I'm bringing up social movements, and at the same time trying to slip awareness into onto the plates of the students. And then I had the opportunity to help start the Umoja program, Moja Saku program, here at American River College. So it's been fun.
I appreciate that. So how important is it to relay progressive information to your Black students?
Well, from a history standpoint, it's basically to try to remind them that a lot of ideas we think are new, they have precedent, that there are people that have been actively in the struggle and doing things that unfortunately get forgotten. And it should hopefully motivate them to speak out and to do the same types of things, but just in the vernacular of modern time periods, as opposed to, like, nobody did this before, and so it's a big hill I can't get up it. If you know that other people have been helping to push up that hill and been trying to move the cause forward, then you should feel more inclined that success is a possibility, as opposed to only just seeing the obstruction.
Well, interesting, since I've been trying to slip this information in to not only my mainstream students, but my African American students as well, is one of the things that I've noticed as I am learning and reading beside them, is that we as a people have had ordinary, everyday folks who have made the movement happen. And if we have to remember that we shouldn't sit around and wait for the leader to come. And I'm sorry to say, but mainstream society tends to do that. They look to see who's gonna lead us instead of realizing that they have the power themselves, right? And so when you hear the history and you see the movements that are going on, it is everyday, ordinary people, and that means that each and every one of us has the ability to do something. I think, unfortunately, that because of the lack of history, of African American people that they just, like you said, trot out the same handful of folks. You think only 3 people wrote books too, you know, and so they don't realize that they have that possibility too, and so yeah.
I think a problem that I'm facing a lot is why have I been taught a lie all the way up until this point, you know? And it's just, you know, it kind of freaks me out sometimes because there are powerful teachers out here that really care about students' future and what they care about what these students consume most importantly, you know? And, you know, growing up I had predominantly white teachers and all that, so you guys touch hundreds of black students each semester, and I just wanted to know, like, do you guys recognize the power you guys have, and how far are we gonna go with that power, you know? Because there is a lot of black adults that cross your path every year, and you know, some have good impressions, some may have, you know, negative impressions, but how do you guys interpret that power?
Well, I guess I don't really think of it as power as much as that I'm always looking to see who's listening, and then I start to focus and direct my attention on people that are at least giving me the opportunity to provide them with that data. I mean, there's students in there that I would like them to be able to learn something, but they're too busy with their phone or too busy with their friends next door to them or worrying about something else. And if I focus all my attention on them, then I'm not doing what I would like to do, which is try to draw out those individuals that actually show a little bit of spark and have some kind of ability to take what I'm talking about and hopefully share it with family, friends, and other people that are interested, right? But so in terms of power, sometimes because I have too many of the detractors, shall we say, that the word power doesn't usually come across in the way that I think of it. What I'm trying to do, again, is look out there, and I can pretty much assess who's giving me something back in terms of attention.
How does that make you feel to see that students may not be receptive to the powerful information that you're giving them?
Well, one, I always say, if you're there, something over the hour probably will grab your attention based on the topic and the material. So I would prefer that they be there and get one little thing than not be there at all. But certainly I'm not going to, again, spend all my attention trying to make sure that they pay attention, because then I'm not getting out the information to those others, as I mentioned before. So, you know, it's sort of a push and pull game. You try to pull them along, but at some point you're going to just push more of the ones that are retaining the information. They're going to do something with their lives, at least with that information.
Professor Gourdine, what does Black Power look like to you?
I would think, okay, when you say that to me, I think about my generation, right? And I immediately see images of froze and and the comb, the cake cutter. But I think of myself as well, and I think that it is the comfort within myself. Also, as well as the need for independence and autonomy, and also pride, and also the willingness to share instead of being defensive, but to share and show the beauty of the culture. And that's what I'm trying to do in my classes. And also trying to explain why things are the way they are. Why is racism so entrenched in here? And if we can understand that, then we can understand what that Black Power is. And I really feel that too. It's also economic freedom, as Nipsey was trying to, get his folks to believe in too.
Why do you think they take our Black heroes away from us? like from Martin Luther King to Nipsey Hussle today?
Well, because it's a threat. It's scary. It's a scary thing, the same way that they took away the Panthers and demonized them. When in fact, how many people know that the Panthers started the WIC program? And they're shocked. But instead what they see are the chairs and the rifles, you know.
Right.
That's what's fearsome. And that fear goes all the way back to the racial bribe, you know. But then again, we have to stop being afraid ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that definitely starts with some militancy and some organization, you know, most importantly. So I heard you have some books written down. I mean, you have some books.
Yeah.
What are the name of those? My girlfriend was inquiring about those.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's some self-published works at a publishing press called Upon Short Notice Press. There is, right now my mind goes blank. My most recent one is Ringing in the Wild. I also did a anthology or two, in an anthology, Shepard and Thomas's Sudden Fiction Continued, flash fiction. And then I also did a letter exchange for a year with Quincy Troop, talking about politics, art, and culture. And it was like in response to the anniversary of Letters to a Young Poet,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
that's one of my
We
favorites.
did that. So there are bits and pieces out there, but my most recent is Ringing in the Wild.
Okay, that's what's up. I had a really good question for Rudy, and it just slipped my mind. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. How does it make you feel to like piss off students? You know what I'm saying? Because you say it a lot. There's days where you're gonna leave this place irritated or upset. And, you know, I felt it. You know, like I.
Okay, yeah, in the topic, in other words, but that's part of education, is that you don't have to be unemotional to be educated. You should be emotional and you should feel it, and hopefully if you hear about Emmett Till being lynched, you're not like going, well, you know, that happens all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, no, that's not the point of the story of Emmett Till. The story is to make other people who may not have that same life experience suddenly have a sense of the vulnerability of simply being a black person. Your life can be taken and nobody has to pay any consequences. That should piss you off.
Yeah.
And if not, then why are you here?
Exactly.
Why
man.
are you in the class? Why are you, wanting to say you're in an African American history class but don't care about something like that?
I think that as far as like getting angry or really emotional at the content, I think we have this like idea in our country that we need to wait until we're totally comfortable to talk about something, and if whether it's discussions about race or politics or history, if I feel uncomfortable or if I feel angry or any sort of like intense emotion, clearly I'm not ready to have this discussion and we need to shut it down. And that's ridiculous. Like anything that means anything in this world is going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be scary and it's going to be hard to hear, but we have to do it anyway. And so I think part of it is building up this like callous and like muscle memory a little bit of like, I have to sit through these horrible conversations and learn about all of this awful thing that's been done to my people. But a big part of learning about that is also learning about all of the horrible things that like our people have overcome together. And it's not like it was like necessarily enjoyable, like no one was having a great time during the Children's March, but they did it anyway. And so I think that that's a really big part of it too. Like it's supposed to be hard, like Pearson said, and we have to do it anyway.
I really do love that response. That was probably the most gangster response I've heard in a minute, honestly. So this is the last question, and I think it'll be just a real uplifting question, and I think you guys will be the perfect ones to answer it because of the experience that you guys have, and I could just tell by looking in your eyes that you guys have seen a lot. And The question is, what advice would you give your younger self that's just fresh into college?
I'll go real quick, because I'm currently my younger self right now, but even looking back, like, to me in middle school and high school, really just that, like, you deserve to be here. There's nothing, like, innately wrong with you, and all of these systems are set up to make you feel uncomfortable in your own skin and uncomfortable in the classroom. But, like, this place can be for you, and you deserve to learn and be free and use your voice. Yeah.
I think I made very good choices. I had good instincts in college about what I wanted to do with my life, and it sure has come to this. But one strong thing in capital bold black letters, leave those boys alone.
Say that one more time.
That's it. Leave those boys alone.
And quickly for me, I think it'd be more empathy in terms of, I was wrapped up in athletics and sports and, everybody else and every other thing sort of took a second. But certainly studying African American history is much more about seeing how other people have to deal with things that I may not personally have to deal with. But if I'd actually paid attention, it was probably always there around me. And, when I was young, I didn't really have the depth of understanding to think about that. So if I could tell my younger self, it would be more, look around, brother. There's more to the world than the little things that you think are the biggest things in your life right now.
See, and I probably would have chased him down.
But I'd be worth
Oh my
it.
God.
I'd be worth it.
Tracy, you're really coming after me right now. Feeling real attacked.
He wouldn't have known I was alive either.
I love that, man. I love that. I really do thank you guys for this information, truly. And I think we'll definitely inspire and influence those who take a chance to listen to this. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Keep doing the work.